We're going to call the meeting to order. Sorry I'm a little late. Chairman Jaspers, my text just arrived from you inquiring to my whereabouts. I apologize for being a little tardy, but we'll get started. And
encouraged us to be here.
I did. I made a little snide comment on the floor today about attendance. But no, very serious matter. And you know, as we look to take up the budget, you know, as we address the big budget for 21, before that, I did want to give an opportunity. We've heard from several of our USG and several of our institutions there, and as we start this meeting today, I want to give the technical college system an opportunity to get up and present and tell us a little bit of what's going on. And I know we all know Greg Dozer, new commissioner. We've worked with him probably in many of us in various aspects of government, and glad to see him in this role. Look forward to Commissioner, what your vision is for the technical college the technical college system of Georgia. And with that, if you'll get up and tell us a little bit about what you see going on in the future. Try it now.
Hello. There we go. I'm just going to very quickly kick it off. I think we have a hopefully a very well put together presentation that hits a very surface level of some of the discussions that you and I and several members have had. One of the goals, as we have discussed, is really making sure that we are matching up the workforce to the programs in the colleges, in our communities. And I know one of the areas that we all have a focus on, and that is our true rural Georgia, the ones that are not in the metro Atlanta area. And that's something you and I have talked about as we've had discussions, and I appreciate that conversation. So today what we hope to do is kick off from a statewide perspective. And I just want you to know we'll be looking more granular down to a localized level of the data that we're going to present today. But the data we have today, I'm going to ask Stephen Ferguson, our CIO, to present. He's been digging into several different aspects of the data of how to try to make sure that we're identifying the workforce demands versus what we're offering in our colleges. So today we're going to give you a quick statewide overview of those programs we're offering and what the demand is. In the future, what we'll be doing is, like I said, going into a more granular level and making sure that the programs that we aren't offering, that we can look and see what is that demand and which programs do we need to be making more robust in this area versus another area. Some of the early efforts in that has been cloud computing that we've mentioned. We've kicked it off and have the pilot going now. Another area that we're about to kick off very shortly is Fintech. So that's an area that we'll be launching fairly soon. But I think we have a good foundation for us today on the data. And then while we're presenting this, if you have localized questions, I wanted to have two of our best presidents come up and be able to answer those questions from a localized method of how they're really partnering with those communities and making sure that our workforce needs are being met. So we have John Watford here from South Georgia Tech, and we have Dr. Tina Anderson from Wiregrass Tech out of Valdosta. So after Stephen presents, we'll ask John to kind of step up and then Tina step up and kind of connect the dots from a statewide level that Stephen's going to present to a localized level at the college, if that's appropriate.
That sounds great to me.
Thank you. Stephen, if you would.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. We want to talk about what it takes to meet the needs of local industry. And as we do that, it's specifically how TCSG is meeting those needs. And we do that by looking at two items. One is demand and one is supply. You should have a copy of this presentation at your desk. You can flip through and follow along. I would give you a note. It is a double-sided, so front and back as you flip through. Let's first take a look at what we defined as demand for purposes of this presentation. It's the average annual openings in 2018 and 2019 for high demand occupations. This is source data from a widely recognized source called MC Economic Modeling. It's using BLS and job openings and other types of data to gather and analyze what demand looks like in a region or area. We also have supply. For purposes of this presentation, it's the TCSG Awards in academic year 19. That consists of fall, spring, summer of academic year 2019. Summer of 2019 is the end there. And we're looking at multiple programs: technical education, economic development, and workforce development credentials, or credentials earned within those programs. The first one up, and I've got a few slides here to go through, these are aggregated areas. And so when we're measuring demand, we need to look at an aggregate, because the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the way they aggregate and post job postings is very different from what you might see in a regular supply side. So these are aggregated groups, and I'll tell you what's in the groups as well. For business technology, this is an extremely high demand area with jobs across those 2 years totaling 14,684 across the state, and a TCSG supply to meet those demands of just over 9,800. What does business technology mean as a program group? And I think that's a great question, a fair question. This is not an exhaustive list. This is looking at what I'd call high demand or in demand program sectors and programs that we deliver. It's talking about applied business technology, banking and finance, customer contact, health information technology, technical specialists. These are what you would typically refer to as your business office jobs. And if you look at any job posting out there, they're always looking for business professionals with technical expertise, and that's what this category is summarizing. If we move forward, we take a look at healthcare and related. Now, healthcare is a very large and broad field to define. And we talk about what that looks like. The demand, no one can really deny that healthcare has always been in demand, still in demand, and will likely be in demand in the future. It's over 19,000 jobs across these couple of years. Now, when I specify demand here, I'm talking about demand as far as what TCSG is training people for. If it takes a higher level credential, that's not showing up in this demand curve. We're taking a look at what TCSG's demand is. And the supply there was 9,782 awards within those sectors. Again, not an exhaustive list, but how that looks is we have dental assisting, hygiene, so dental programs, healthcare assistants, pharmacy technology, radiology, surgical technical staff and technicians, as well as vet tech. And that's actually coming from BLS, so that's where that mixes into healthcare. But all of these areas make up healthcare. Nursing being a very large and broad one. We do have CNAs in there. We have LPNs, the licensed practical nursing, as well as the registered nurse, the RN, and a very popular bridge program from LPN to RN that you'll see across the system. Moving forward from there, let's talk about transportation logistics. Now, as I go through this, we're looking at what is the high supply of TCSG in demand and working our way down through there. Transportation logistics has a demand of almost 16,000 jobs available across the state. These are new or turnover jobs as defined, by that MC data set, with a supply of 8,700 coming out with that credential. Again, that credential comes out of our technical education department. We're also doing that in economic development. We're doing that in other non-credit offerings so that we can help meet that need anywhere at any time. What all's bundled in there? Aircraft maintenance, aircraft structural technology, automotive engine repair, diesel equipment, commercial truck driving, very high demand, as well as automotive transmission, aviation maintenance, airframe maintenance, things like that, are all programs within transportation and logistics as a whole. Construction and design. Now, this is a growing area. Can't drive anywhere up 85, 75, 95, Georgia 400 up my area without seeing commercial and residential construction. And one thing that we see is there is a lot of jobs in this area, and there's just a lot of supply coming out of TCSG for this. Over 14,000 jobs with just over 8,000 credentials being awarded in academic year 19. Common things inside here, this does include welding. We all hear about the shortage of welders and how we can help meet that. We got classes running 6 days a week and longer for welding programs, for advanced shielded metal arc welder, carpentry, gas metal arc welding, drafting, electrical construction, electricians, plumbers, as well as construction management. So not only do we need skilled labor to meet that need, we also need skilled labor to manage those individuals. And construction management is a very popular area of growth. This is one near and dear to my own heart here in computer technology. I get really excited about the computer side of it and all of it, and the data in general and all the programs we offer. The demand here is showing up just over 4,800 with a supply of just under 5,200. There's an obvious question to be had there. There's more supply than defined demand. One thing we're seeing in this and many programs is with an employed workforce, we have a lot of people coming back to upskill. One of the main goals, as the commissioner mentioned, of our cloud initiative and Cloud Academy is to continually upskill the workforce as well. So we're meeting the new jobs as well as those skills that employees and employers need to remain competitive and work across Georgia and specifically in rural Georgia. But there's a large demand there, and there's a lot of popular programs within technology. This covers cybersecurity. We've got cybersecurity in many of our colleges, help desk, programming, PC repair. Everybody has probably ran into or used people from this program, across your daily life. You can't get through a day without using technology. This is a very popular program from Cisco and A+ and Microsoft, so everybody's got to play here. Moving through into industrial systems and maintenance, the demand here shows up at 4,200 jobs available with a supply of almost 4,200 jobs, 4,174. Popular programs in here. Now you see some things here that bleed over into construction and other areas, but again, as we do that demand and look at it, this is where the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts that demand. And there's air conditioning technology, electrical maintenance, machine tool. This is more industrial, though. These are industrial job codes that you're looking at and industrial level programs. A lot of precision manufacturing and PLCs and things of that nature, heating and air conditioning, that installation as well as maintenance and service type programs. Moving through there, we have emergency response and law enforcement. I've actually driven up and down 75, and you'll see signs on the side of the road looking for law enforcement officers and trying to recruit there, looking for EMTs, looking for firefighters. And the demand there is 4,338 with a supply coming in at just over 4,100 at 4,157. Common jobs that you're going to see across that, so it's EMTs and common programs here, law enforcement, criminal justice, looking over to fire science and paramedics and those EMTs and emergency responder type programs. Now, when you're looking at any of these and you come up next, it's cosmetology and barbering. I'm not really qualified to answer questions on this one if you take a look here, but I would defer to a president should one come up. The demand there is going to be over 3,500. This is still a high demand program with a supply of 3,268. The common programs here, this is barbering and cosmetology. And I used to use one, but it is a high demand. It is a high demand program. Early child care. Very much in demand with jobs totaling over 4,800 and a supply of 3,000, just over 3,000 coming out. Early child care, child development specialists, childhood care and education, these are the folks that are training America's and Georgia's youngest citizens. So they're on the ground floor of meeting this need. Accounting, we have a demand of over 5,500 with a supply of 2,163. This is a high demand area. Accounting and specialized payroll, every business out there needs someone to help manage and account for those dollars. Hospitality services, this one has a demand of 8,900 with a supply of just under 1,600. This is an area where you commonly think of as culinary arts, food production, prep cook, catering. It is in use across our state, and anytime you have tourism in other areas and folks that live and work in an area and travel around, you have hospitality service needs. Going through, we have media production. The defined demand here is over 1,300 with a supply of 1,077. If you take a look at any of these slides and looking through there, these are actually our students, our labs, our programs. I mentioned that earlier, but this is our population. And so you're seeing what we teach on a daily basis. Common programs in this area takes a look at commercial photography, film production, television, design and media production technology, and there's other programs embedded within here. This is high level. Legal and public services, we have a demand of over 1,500 and a supply of 488 individuals in this space. This is things like certified economic development, paralegals in these legal and public service areas. And the last one I want to bring up is going to be not last one, I got one more after that I'll speak to. Engineering technology, with a demand of 555. These are very specialized programs you'll see on the next slide, and a supply of 141. This is civil engineering, nuclear science, environmental engineering. These are regionally very important, very specialized, high-demand programs in different areas across the state. And the last one I want to mention is going to be general studies. With a demand here really defined as articulation agreements with the university system and the private colleges, and a supply coming from TCSG of 2,275 individuals getting awards in that space. And that's part of what we do is prepare people to continue their education as well. Mr. Chairman, I'd pause there and take any questions.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add one thing real
Yes.
quick. You know, the question that we had in the office, because we just got this data, I believe, day before yesterday and been trying to get it ready for the presentation, is what do you do with it? And so I think that's as we dig in deeper, as I mentioned to begin with, the other question is what does the data really mean? How does it line up with the 55% needing middle skills jobs, but the fact that we only have 43% ready for those jobs? Because in some areas it looks like we're doing pretty good. Then other areas, I think culinary arts was the biggest wide range, we're not doing good. So it's easy to know what you need to do in those wide gap areas. But we got to figure out, when you look at a totality of jobs in the state that need the skill, but you're seeing the job placements and what is the real gap? Because the gap's a little bit bigger than just the data shows. A lot of folks are being hired without posting the jobs. We know a lot of the jobs that we train for don't get posted. They're word of mouth in the community and you hire. So we're trying to fill in that gap as I came in, but I think it gives us a great foundation to dig down into the communities and see where we need to be. And I think that's where our presidents come in and fill some of that gap. So as we answer questions on this, I think our presidents also will fill in some of that gap as we really lay out a plan in the next several months on how we close the gap between the 55 and 43%. Would you like questions right now?
Yeah, well, and I may have questions, and again, I want the committee to start to weigh in, and a little bit of background from my perspective and some of the conversations that I've had with the commissioner. Our technical colleges are so tied in to our communities and to the regions and to the, those their service delivery areas. I mean, I cannot think of another more embedded, institution
Yes, sir.
than these technical colleges. And so, again, we're looking at, what are the needs?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've given an aggregate sort of a view here, but you and I also talked about, how do we further break that down? And that may be where, our presidents are going to get up and help bridge this question. But as we start, and as legislators, and we start to look at this, what are the needs in our community? Okay? Representative Laricchia and Perkle may have different regional needs than, say,
Yes, sir.
my region, or say, Chairman Jasper's region.
Yes.
So how are we? I want us to get more involved with, from the industry point of view, where are these demands and where are they by regions? Because as you talked about, and I want this committee to start thinking about this, are we matching our resources
That's right.
correctly? As you start to look at these different programs that we have here, okay, some cost more than others to put, to create the program, to operate the program, and to produce these students. But some of those are very, very high demand jobs that are waiting for these guys. And that's where I want us to dial in to make sure that as we look around the state, we're dialed in regionally and at that in our local communities to see what those needs are.
So Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
think you're exactly right. And what we're busy doing right now is taking this global data and
Yeah.
breaking it down by both county
Yeah.
and service area.
Yeah, and this is when I invited Chairman Nix to come and sit in, because he has
Yeah.
talked to us. Chairman Nix has come to me. Their area of Georgia is bustling with opportunity.
Yep.
But again, we've talked about, are our resources, are our programs matched up with those opportunities that we're seeing regionally? And again, he has come to me, and that's what I want us to start thinking about. So with that, before we start, I've got a question. Representative Chogas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned your college presidents.
Yes,
and
sir.
I just wanted to put a plug in for Dr. John Watford, Dr. Tina Anderson. Dr. Watford and Dr. Anderson are both outstanding alumni of Georgia Southwestern State University, and they both come from the best district in the state. And you were speaking about needs, addressing earlier, Mr. Chairman, and they've done an outstanding job. I serve on the foundational board with Dr. Watford, and we look at the needs assessment for the community, industry, and partner, which is basic with what the mission is for the technical college system. But I want to share one other story. And America's Sumter County is building a new high school. And we are building the high school directly across the street from South Georgia Technical College. And I don't mind telling you, the idea came from a former college president of South Georgia Tech, Sparky Reeves, where when they were doing a search for the land and how we could better serve the students in our area, and the Board of Education did a buy-in, the community did a buy-in, and so that's great for pulling in students, giving them direction. And I also want to point out one more thing, and that this past December, the Rural Development Council, co-chaired by Chairman Jaspers, held their final meeting in the state of Georgia at South Georgia Technical College. So I want to thank both my college presidents for the great job that they do. Thank you, Commissioner, and Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me brag on my folks.
Welcome, and I know well-deserved.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner, if you'll proceed.
as Dr. As John comes up, as I go on blank,
Yeah.
Waterford, is that right? Watford. I went blank on it. I apologize, John. If you come up, I just want to add something else to what Representative was talking about. I had the chance this past week to chair the state finals in the VEX robotics competition, and it was at the Career Academy. And it was just amazing as you talked about that connection of the high school to the technical colleges and the skill set. That was probably one of the best things as I've transitioned into this role, to see that connection in the young. These were 7th and 8th graders that, gosh, I just wish I was half as intelligent as those young men and women. It was incredible and such an eye-opening experience. So thank you for sharing that and the connection, because it's true. Come on now.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Mike, for those very kind words. I want to frame what I'm going to talk about by giving you kind of the context of what South Georgia Tech is, where we are. South Georgia Tech is the second oldest technical college in the state of Georgia. It was founded in 1948, so we've been doing this for 72 years. Prior to that, we were Army Air Corps training base, so in both World War I and World War II. So we have been training aviation maintenance on our campus for 103 years in some form or fashion, whether it be through the Army Air Corps or through South Georgia Tech, and we're very proud of that fact. South Georgia Tech has campus housing, and that makes us different as well. We're one of only 2 colleges, and again, North Georgia Tech and South Georgia Tech. And that's not a coincidence that they're North Georgia Tech and South Georgia, because that's what they called the first 2 technical colleges, is North Georgia Tech, South Georgia Tech. And we're both still those 2 things. And we're both still the only ones with campus housing. Now, that facilitates us having some very unique partnerships, and I want to talk about those here in a minute. But I also want to let you know what kind of service area we have, because we're talking about serving local business and industry. And we serve 7 counties in southwest Georgia. And for those of you who know your Georgia geography, that's Crisp County, Macon County, Marion County, Sly County, Sumter County, Taylor, and Webster. Those are our 7 counties. And if you're familiar with those 7 counties, There's not a metropolis in any of those counties other than Plains, Georgia. And the only reason it's a metropolis is because of former President Jimmy Carter. But there's not what we would call an urban opportunity in any of those counties. So we're serving a very rural area. One of the partnerships that we have that is attracting a lot of students in these 7 counties to South Georgia Tech is with Georgia Power and our EMCs and local power companies. We have a line worker program on our campus. It was the first one in the state, and it's an 8-week program. It's a technical certificate of credit. Students come in, the first day they're on campus, they climb a pole. They climb a 50-foot pole. That usually weeds out 1 or 2, and we take about 15 students. A lot of people think they can climb a 50-foot pole until they get about 10 feet up, and then things start changing. But I talk about this one first because we're talking about appropriations. And y'all heard me tell this story when in the Rural House subcommittee. That program, y'all know that our tuition rate is $100 per credit hour in the technical college system. According to our program cost survey, it costs us $387 per credit hour to deliver that program. Because of a lot of things, because of the equipment. Right now we have 5 bucket trucks, 2 trailers. We have a pole skill field. We have to employ 4 instructors for a class of 15 students, which is a very high student per instructor ratio. But that's because of safety, because of the knowledge that has to be transferred, and the fact that we do want an instructor's eyes on every single student when they're on a pole or when they're in any type of dangerous situation. And I share that with you to say that we deliver these programs because they're needed in our communities, not because we're trying to balance a budget. And you may ask, well, how do you balance the budget? And it's from some of those other programs, such as early childhood care and education, which has a very high demand in our service area. But we can hire one full-time instructor and teach 125 students in early childhood care and education. And we don't have to buy any welding equipment. We don't have to buy any bucket trucks. They basically need puppets and pencil and paper, and they're good to go. So I kind of watered that down a little bit, but they don't have the equipment and supply needs as something like a line worker program. Sir, did I see your hand come up?
Yep.
So I was just going to say, you need, if I were in your program, you'd need those 4 instructors, put 1 on each corner and make sure I didn't run down off.
Yeah, and we have some that way. We have, it's interesting, climbing is the most critical thing, and during the first 2 weeks they get familiar with climbing. And we have 5 poles that are in a circle. And these students climb up, and of course they use the safety equipment, and they've got the spikes on the heels, and they climb up the pole and they get to the top of I think it's about a 25-foot pole or maybe a 20-foot pole, and they have a basketball, and they have to start throwing the basketball to each other in sequence. And it's fun to watch them, but what it's doing is teaching them how to concentrate on something else while they're at that height. And it's amazing how quick these young people get into this. And it's a program where we work on trying to strengthen diversity. It's a non-traditional field for women, and we have had some females in that program who are very successful with Georgia Power. But, all of our other minority areas as well, and we really market toward that end. Georgia Power hires those students. They give us equipment. They give us supplies. Those poles are only good for so long because every time you stick those spikes in them, they get chipped up. And eventually we have to dig them up, and then we start using them in our log truck driver training program as fake logs. But then we put new poles in the ground, and Georgia Power and our EMCs and our even Chris County Power, which is a private power company, help us with those supplies and things like that. We receive USDA grants for those bucket trucks I talked about. So we find resources to pay for those things in high demand, expensive programs like Line Worker. I also wanted to share another opportunity that we've had with Caterpillar Corporation. South Georgia Tech, since we have campus housing, supplies training for Caterpillar for Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, and Tennessee. We are a Think Big program. There's 11 Think Big programs in colleges and universities across the United States, and we're one of those 11. Basically, students come to our campus for 8 weeks. Now, of course, we're on a 16-week semester. They come for 8 weeks. matriculate through their program work, coursework. They go back to their dealerships for 8 weeks. And when they go back to their dealerships, another group comes in for the second 8 weeks. And they alternate like that for 2 years until they get an associate degree in heavy equipment dealer technology. This partnership is a flagship partnership for our school, and it spawned several other partnerships that are very similar. But what it brings to the table for South Georgia Tech and for our students and for our service area, Caterpillar gives us $150,000, $100,000, $80,000 dozers and backhoes and excavators, brand new, plastic still on the seat for students to work on. And when those pieces of equipment become obsolete, whenever CAT has developed something new, they come and get those and replace those with the brand new piece of equipment for students to work on. There's no way we would be able to afford as a technical college to have that kind of equipment for our students to train on. They give us engines. They just delivered 11 11 engines to our campus. They were running engines, and part of the students' curriculum in that heavy equipment program is to tear an engine down, put it back together, and it has to run for them to pass that class. Axles, the list goes on and on of the donated equipment that Caterpillar gives us. They give us free training. Our instructors are flown out to Peoria or Chicago every 6 months for training on the latest CAT technologies and training methods. And they provide guest instructors on a regular basis. They obviously hire the students. The students are actually employed when they come to us. We recruit the students, they recruit some of the students, but it's open to anyone in our service area or external to our service area. And one other thing that CAT provides, they provide monetary support to our foundation. They're one of our strongest foundation donors. And that money cannot go into the CAT program because that would be a problem with the IRS. So that money goes to our generic diesel program. We do have a generic diesel program that is, incidentally, we have the largest diesel enrollment of any college in the state of Georgia, technical college. And we're proud of that fact, and it's because of the programs like CAT and John Deere, and I'll talk about John Deere in just a second. But with our generic diesel program, Caterpillar, John Deere, Cummins engines, all of the major diesel manufacturers and retailers come and recruit from that generic diesel program. So that gives our students even more opportunities to go to work in this industry. Back in 2014, CAT approached the college and said that the sales force for Caterpillar for their electrical power generations, the EPG, the generators that you see behind hospitals and grocery stores and so forth, they're no longer trying to sell the generators because there are not enough technicians in the field to maintain the ones that are out there.
Well, that's bad because they make some of those in mine.
That's right. They're put together in
Griffin. So that's
right.
we must work on that.
That's right. And so what we did is we put together the first curriculum in the world for Caterpillar for EPG. And we've had that program now. We've graduated 3 different classes, and it's been very successful. They approached us because at South Georgia Tech, not only do we teach diesel, but we also teach electronics and electrical, industrial electrical, which you have to have knowledge of all 3 of those fields to be able to work on power generators. And so to this day, we still have the only one in the world, but Oregon State and Oklahoma State have both been making regular visits to South Georgia Tech to look at what we have because they want to replicate this program. Now, everything I said about CAT applies to John Deere as well. We serve John Deere's technicians in southern states, house them in the dorm for 8 weeks. They go back to their dealership for 8 weeks, and at the end of 2 years, they get a 2-year associate degree in agricultural technology. This provides, again, the same benefits that I listed for CAT: equipment, supplies, training, foundation dollars. So it builds our local community. It provides opportunities for our local potential students, and it's not, they don't all have to leave the service area because Yancey is the one who takes the most advantage, and of course that's the Georgia dealer for Caterpillar, and Ag South and Lassiter and the other John Deere dealers also in Georgia take strong advantage of our John Deere partnership, so they have the most students in the partnership. We have an 86% retention rate in those programs. That's a strong retention rate. Students get in those programs, they've got a good job, they're learning, they're able to earn a salary and benefits why they're coming to school. And I think of those who do stay in the program, the 86% who actually graduate, there is a better than 90% after 5 years who are still working with either CAT or John Deere respectively. So it's a very, very strong career opportunity for people in our service area. And I wanted to tell you one other story, and then I'll be quiet because I'm taking more time than I wanted to. But to try to speak to some of the questions that we're seeing or that we're talking about with serving our constituencies. We have an automotive program like most of the technical colleges do. It teaches everything about engines and transmissions and brakes and everything automotive. We were approached by Kaufman Tire, who about 1.5 years ago sold out to Mavis Tire Company. But y'all used to see all these black and red Kaufman Tire, and they used the Chick-fil-A model. They weren't open on Sundays. They chose black and red. The size of the store was on the same footprint, everything. They approached us and they said, we want to hire some of your students, but we don't care if they know anything about engines, and we don't care if they know anything about transmissions. We just want them to be able to change tires, balance, rotate, and know something about heating and air systems in cars. And so we said, fine. So we pulled the curriculum and took the classes that pertain to what they were looking for. Didn't have to regenerate anything. We just took the existing curriculum, pulled the courses out they want, and created a one semester, TCC, Technical Certificate of Credit, and it satisfied their needs tremendously. And they sent about 200 students through that program to get trained in one semester to work in their stores. Now, that's not a career like you would get with Caterpillar, because hopefully you're not going to spend the rest of your career changing tires. But it's an excellent employment opportunity for somebody to get their foot in the door and get some basic training. And of course, all those courses they took are embedded in the overall automotive diploma, so they can come back and get the full automotive diploma and move on and have a better, and also have that career that we were talking about. So I tell you all that to sum it up and say, workforce training and meeting the needs of our students, meeting the needs of our communities is at the heart of our mission. Of the 7 counties that I mentioned, the total population of those 7 counties put together, every human being, is not as high as the number of 9th through 12th graders in Gwinnett County. And that's a fact. And I say that, again, to put into context with when you're working with rural communities, you have to know who your population is. Everybody knows everybody. All of our instructors know all of the employers who are going to hire our students by first name. They're probably on their cell phones. And they work together. They're part of the advisory committee, but what's more, they're friends, they're neighbors, they go to church together. And it really facilitates us being able to meet the workforce needs of our communities in a small demand area. So yes, we're meeting the needs of Caterpillar and John Deere, Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, but we're also meeting the needs of the auto collision shop owner and the farmer who needs a diesel technician in those 7 counties that I mentioned. So subject to any questions, that's all I have.
Well, and again, I see something here, and I think, something jumps out at me, and I want the committee to get involved in this, because I do want to look at this. I take from you that there's a strong public-private partnership, okay? So when we talk about funding, we're doing something because, again, these high-demand areas, but industry is coming in and wanting it, right? There's demand, they're seeing it. So there are some partnerships. Sounds like you have navigated those partnerships very well to help offset some of the costs that of these programs. So I think that's very much duly it's noted. And it would be interesting to that's what I take from what I'm hearing. And so any other comments from the Chairman Perkle?
There you go. Thank you. We had the pleasure of talking at your campus with the Rural Development Council, and you were a gracious host.
Yes,
and I thank you for that, for a pinch hitting and stepping in. We talk about making government work for us. We have talked, I should not say ad nauseum, but we have talked a lot about building programs that industries can use, having conversations with industry. We do not want to turn out a student that the industry can't use, or that, and I want to thank you for Dr. Anderson Wells that's coming up next, and thank you for being responsive. And so many of our presidents are listening to our industry partners and forming that vital public-private partnership. We're using public resources to provide a great talented workforce, a skilled workforce to meet the demand, and thank you. That's just a comment. I'm sorry, there wasn't a question in there, but.
Good comment at that. Chairman Jaspers?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I enjoyed being at your school, and that high school site's amazing. But just my question, you look at South Georgia Tech's regional area, how do you reach out to Marion County and Taylor County and I can't read that, Macon County it looks like. I mean, what are you doing to reach out to those communities to get them to come to your school in Sumter County? Because it's a drive, and
right. And it's a challenge. We try to be as ubiquitous in those counties. This is probably inappropriate in these hallowed halls to say, but somebody told me the other day you can't sling a dead cat without hitting somebody from South Georgia Tech in Taylor County. And that was a compliment to us because we have somebody up there all the time. My vice president of economic development sits on their chamber board. We do job fairs in those communities. We specifically target communities like Butler and Reynolds and of course Marion County for career fairs, where it's a career fair, but basically we're just showcasing all of our programs. And all of our instructors, when we load up 2 or 3 of the flatbeds with equipment and take it up there, we have simulators that we take, and we get folks excited. We have a high-performance motorsports program, and we have a number 99 Aaron's Rents race car that we take up there, and of course they have to heat the oil and all that kind of, I'm not a NASCAR fan, but basically it takes 20 minutes to get the thing cranked up, but when it cranks up, everybody in Reynolds, Georgia knows it because the windows are rattling. And we do things like that on at least a semesterly basis. Every 16 weeks, we're in those rural communities doing something that we're here in your community, come look at what we have to offer. Of course, we've taken buses. Here recently, I think it was in December or maybe November, that we took a bus to Marion County and brought the members of the chamber to our college, fed them, let them have their chamber meeting in our conference room, and then gave them a tour of the campus. And those are the ways that we reach out to them to keep them involved, let them know that we're the college that's in their service delivery area.
Okay. And I guess, Mr. Chairman, if I can,
yeah.
This is the commissioner. So is that action, what you heard President Dunn, part of the performance appraisal that goes on for every college president?
Mr. Chairman, I can't answer that today, and I apologize. I don't know what the prior commissioner had as far as a performance appraisal, and we're sitting down right now talking about an annual sit-down for that appraisal and what I would like to see in it, so we haven't formulated it yet, but obviously that's going to be one of the things, especially after this discussion. I think it makes perfect sense.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
Representative Chokus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I have a unique perspective in that not only have I served in the legislature, but also served on the state school board, and I also serve on the foundation with South Georgia Technical College. Not only John, but his predecessors have been aggressive in attracting students and going to where the students are.
Right.
We've got a campus in Cordele. We've had that for 20 years. In Marion County, they actually set up classes in one of the school rooms to get students hooked, you might say. Have them come in and take a class or two to get them to understand what it's like and the opportunities. And so they've reached out in all those areas. And I congratulate my presidents for reaching out. And that's how it's done. You go to them. You don't wait for them to come to you. So thank you.
Yep. Thank you. And Dr. Wartford, thank you very much. I do want to kind of expound. He mentioned about the VP of Economic Development, and I hope each of you know the VPs of your colleges. If not, we're going to make sure that happens. But that VP of Economic Development really is, from what I'm seeing in my early stages in this position, is that connection between the academics and the college and the true workforce. And so that's going to be something also that we're talking about as we look at the performance of our colleges and what we're doing, because that is such a critical part of exactly what we're talking about today. So thank you for bringing that up. And then I'll ask Dr. Anderson to come up, and I asked her to expand a little bit more on just that process that, Mr. Chairman, you've been asking about, as far as how they're surveying the community, how they're actually making sure they're hearing that voice. You heard a little bit of that in the first presentation, but I've asked her to talk a little bit more about that when she steps up.
Thank you. Welcome, President Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and thank you to my members of my local delegation who are here. Just the best local delegation in the state. Can I say that? No. Okay.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes, and I'm very appreciative of them. I've been a president in our system for 17 years, at Wiregrass for 7 of those years, and so it, to this day, is the greatest honor of any job that I've ever had, and each day I'm glad to get to go to work and help our community. And Mr. Chairman, you said it so well when you said we're embedded in those communities in a way that maybe others aren't, but we should be, right? It is who we are and what we are. It's been said in the past, if we're not part of our communities, we're not anything, because our job is to make sure that we're providing a workforce for our service area. I serve 11 counties and 4 campuses. And before we can start any program, those are approved by State Board, which is our governing board, we have to do a survey of those communities and have to find out, are there jobs? What do those jobs pay? How many jobs are there? Do we need to start a program before we can start anything like that? And then we meet with every program that we have. We meet with them. They're called advisory committees, and we meet with them a minimum of twice a year about our own policy, so that we get together and we say, are we still meeting your needs? Are we not meeting your needs? Tell us what students, graduates need to know in order to go to work for you. So that's a constant conversation, and it's something that that's important for us, and it allows us to have a 99% placement rate of our graduates when they graduate from our colleges. And so we want to make sure that we're always meeting the needs of our communities. When the Development Authority is looking in our communities, when they're looking at a new project that they want to bring in, we don't even know the names of it. We've been at Project Grapefruit and Project Peanut and Project whatever it is. And we're glad to be there. They bring us in to talk about the things that Quick Start does. We talk about those, but also about the things that we'll do as a college to help those businesses come into town. I call that the bleeding edge, getting them in there, and then we have to be on the leading edge of making sure that they have trained employees to go out into those businesses. And you know, sometimes that's the difference in a business coming to your community or not. Often it's the difference if you can get a trained workforce, and they should look to us for that. That is the reason that we exist. And in rural Georgia, as Dr. Watford said, that can look very different than it looks in Metro Georgia. Each has their challenges. There's not the absence of challenges because you're from a metro area, but rural area is a different set of challenges. And I think with Dr. Watford talking about the private-public partnership, Wiregrass is starting an LPN to RN program, and our local medical center, South Georgia Medical Center, has pledged support of that program for the next 10 years to provide the instructors to produce those RNs because they're not being produced enough in South Georgia. Even though they are being produced in South Georgia, it's not enough. And so we look to those partners to help us when we say to them, in order to produce the employees you need, we need to work together with you. And because we have such a good relationship with them, and because of our support from the commissioner and his staff, and from our members of our schools, those are easy asks, and they believe in what we do, and they know the support they get from our legislators also. So it's really they believe in us and they trust the work that we're doing, and we appreciate that you believe that also. One of the things that we do at Wiregrass that I'm particularly proud of is called the Georgia TAP program. It's an alternative teacher certification program. We're the only technical college in our system that actually does a certification for K-12 teachers. It's actually approved by the PSC, and it takes usually a year, sometimes 2 years, depending, to go through it. But we have produced 142 teachers who are certified to go back into the state of Georgia as certified teachers. Another workforce development that we work very hard in, we love having the commissioner's guidance on this, is the Georgia Department of Corrections that has helped with lowering the recidivism rate in the state of Georgia. We've been told for years and years and years 70% of the people in prison don't even have a high school diploma or GED, and so we know we were losing a big part of our population. So we go in and teach OSHA and ServSafe, those kind of non-credit classes, but we also are teaching credit. We have people who are graduating, getting out of prison and graduating, diesel mechanic, welding, business classes, horticulture, and those are areas that they can go into the workforce when they're released and be able to get jobs in. We also partner with Guardian Bank, one of our local banks, to do an entrepreneurship academy. One of the things we found out from our businesses is that you're producing great graduates who know the skill set you've given them, but do they know how to start their own business? Starting your own business and knowing a skill are two very different things. And so we've partnered with a $50,000 grant from a local bank to do an entrepreneurship academy for our students, so that, and it's done by the Small Business Development Center from UGA that's local to our Valdosta area, and they come in and help our students to be entrepreneurs. Diesel, Dr. Watford talked about diesel, and he and I talked about that a little bit coming up here, and I said, well, you know who's number two? You're number one. You know who's number two, don't you? Well, it's us, so I'm going to go home and address that when I get back about South Georgia. But in Coffee County, and it's one of our biggest diesel programs and so in demand. We had a meeting yesterday with a diesel company that has a big part of our service area. You know, and the things you hear is, we've got to have techs. We need you to produce techs for us. And with the unemployment rates as low as they are, that's what we hear. We need techs, and we need people who have a good work ethic. And so this system, the technical college system, teaches work ethics, so much so that if you look at a technical college transcript from any of the 22 technical colleges, there's a letter academic grade, and then there's a number from 0 to 3 that tells their work ethic grade, 0 being the lowest, 3 being the highest. And so you can tell if you've got not just a smart student, that's important, but do you have a smart student who comes to class and contributes in the way they should. So some really good things. But we started a program called our READY program in response to, we've got such a low unemployment rate, but we know that there's young people that graduate from high school that don't have a plan, and they'll spend 5 or 10 years not contributing a whole lot, and then they realize they've got a family, they're now 28 years old, whatever it is, and they need to do something. And we said, we can't wait 10 years. We've got to do something very early. So we partner with our school system to either their senior year or right after they get out of school for our READY program, and we go into our community and we say, what is it that your need is, that you need somebody that's a beginning person. And we're not talking about a skilled laborer, we're not talking about a tech, we're not talking about a truck driver, but what are those beginning skills that they need? And sometimes it's how to read a tape measure, sometimes it's to a forklift, it's OSHA training, all of those things. And we go into our counties and we partner with the high school and the development authority, and we do a READY program for each of our systems, and we love it. The first one was called Berrien Ready for Berrien County. Sometimes Sometimes they do it Wildcat Ready for the mascot. Canes Ready is one of our school's mascots. So we're doing that in our 11 county service area, and we have gotten the most attaboys for that because it's capturing that group of students that didn't have a plan. They're not bad kids. They're not even bad grades, but they don't have a plan. They don't have something they can do. And our workforce, our business and industry desperately needs them in the workforce. And so we're doing that all over our community, and we're very excited about what's going on. One of the last things I'll tell you about is our articulation agreements that we have with four-year colleges and universities. I've always thought that the state shouldn't pay twice for English 1101. If they took it with us, they've taken English 1101. And so we've done a great job in the state of Georgia with a list of about 29 classes that articulate between the technical college system and the Board of Regents system. Those are well regarded, and that's a good program. But we've gone a little bit farther, as some of our other sister colleges have, and done articulation agreements that says, if you finish this associate degree at Wiregrass, it comes in whole into this bachelor's degree. You don't lose any classes, you don't have to start over, and you get credit for it. And we have actually 63 different articulation agreements, different programs, with 23 different post-secondary institutions that allow students to go on and finish their education in Georgia without it costing the taxpayers again for them, or the student again, to take classes. And we believe that is important as a return on investment for the monies that we're given. I'll show you real quick. This is a copy of our little Wiregrass Ready that we do that just lists some things in it, but we want to brand, obviously our colors are green and black, and we want to brand it when people see it to know that it is Wiregrass. And I said that was the last thing, but I want to tell you about one more thing, apprenticeships. We work with our Chamber of Commerce, our Department of Labor, to do apprenticeships in our service area. And we right now have, at Wiregrass, we have 50 apprentices with 17 different companies. And I'm old school. I'm old enough and been in it long enough to remember we used to do it that way. Apprenticeships is the way we used to do things, and internships. And it's come full circle. And it's vitally important to our businesses because two things. They've got an employee who's going to school. We've got a student who's employed, and they actually sign a contract and have an agreement that allows us both to walk through that work life and that school life without either one of them ending. One of the biggest issues that we've had in the technical college system is our students get a skill set and they leave to go to work, particularly welding or diesel, and they wouldn't finish. With a program like apprenticeship, they don't have to do that because they've got that combination between work and school. So it's working out beautifully, and we love that we get to, and I go to all the signings for those when we sign it like it's game day for these apprentices, and I get to go and be a part of that, and it puts another layer of being out in those companies and understanding what they're doing. So it's an honor to get to serve, and thank you for allowing me to talk about this and about the high demand career programs. About half of our students are in one of those high demand career fields, so they're vitally important to us in South Georgia.
Thank you, and I appreciate it. It looks like that, several things I took is you're following back up with your employees. I mean, this is a constant measurement.
Yes, sir.
Of the programs that you're out there providing. And again, I'm going to be very frank. And I think to the commissioner, sometimes, and again, it sounds like, a lot of our colleges are, but we maybe in some programs, I mean, there's questions of quality. And if you're going to do it, let's do it, and let's do it right, so that, like you said, you get a student that comes through and they're doing it correctly, or in the as they transfer in these associate degrees, you're guaranteeing, hey guys, one time we're going to do it right, and the quality's there. So I appreciate what you're doing, and I think this will help get this committee thinking, and hopefully get the commissioner, as we've talked, thinking about how do we start evaluating this. We do have some questions. Do we? I see some buttons. What number? Is that it? There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and obviously I have to take an opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Anderson, and I've said this for years, that she is a superstar in every way in our part of the state, and especially within our technical college system and Wiregrass Technical College. But I am blessed to have two great presidents with she and Dr. Dybert over at Coastal. And one of the things I believe, the reason we're so successful in our technical college system is because, as you mentioned, following up on so many of these students, you get to see the fruit of what you're doing every day. With a 97 or 99% job placement, you literally get to see them walk off of your campus and drive into a job. And I hope that Commissioner Dozier, and I want to put in a plug for him too, you know, one of the things that I've said about him over the years is when you have somebody with his character and his work ethic, you can put him anywhere in this state, he's going to do you a fine job. And I know that's why Governor Kemp appointed him to that, and I think he's a good fit for that. But I hope he was listening very carefully when you mentioned the number of diesel mechanic students in Coffee County, which is directly correlated to the number of diesel mechanics we need because of the number of diesel trucks.
Exactly.
And I had just a few minutes ago asked him about considering a sort of a partnership or some sort of a joint relationship with our Department of Driver Services, because we have 25,000 CDL drivers within a 3-county area, right there where I live. Say in the middle of my district and where I live. They have to drive to Brunswick or Albany to get their CDL license and get it renewed. And we do a lot of CDL training there at Coffee County or over in Brantley County, I think. And I just thought that would be a neat, we need another driver's license exam location there. So that's my little ask or my plug for that. But I wanted to close with this. In particular, in rural Georgia, I don't know that I've seen a new prospect with our economic development folks, with our technical colleges. If we had a new prospect or a project proposal, the technical colleges were there. Yes. Or an expansion of a small business, whether it was 5 jobs a few years ago. I contacted Dr. Anderson. I said, listen, that quick start is unbelievable, but it should be available to somebody with 3 jobs or 100 jobs. You remember that?
Did.
But they have always been at the table to listen to what the needs were of expanding an existing businesses or a new business. Thank y'all so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me say something real quick, and then Tina, you can.
Representative Chokus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Anderson, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you allowing me to either ask or say a few things. I've been on the foundation at South Georgia Tech for quite a few years, probably close to 20. And I remember when I first joined the foundation, one of the issues was the average age of the student. And constantly, the average age is going down, and we're getting the students at an earlier age. And the reason I'm saying this is because the attitude at the technical colleges is very much businesslike. They see an issue and they look for solutions. And looking for solutions is trying to attract the students at an earlier age, and we're able to do that. The other thing, and I just heard it today, and I'd been aware of it, but I didn't realize what y'all had done, and that is the apprenticeship program. I knew we were getting a lot of dropouts in the high demand programs that y'all were teaching, welding number 1, obviously. And this is another example of looking at it in a business manner and finding a solution to an issue that was facing our technical colleges and our future workforce. So I just want to thank y'all for what you do, and it's always been an honor serving on the board at South Georgia Tech, and having Miss Tina from Ellaville is another positive. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, one of the things that I didn't mention that goes along with this is the technical college system provides a warranty to every student who graduates, a 2-year warranty. If little Tina graduates and she goes in and works for an employer, either little Tina or that employer for a 2-year period can say, "Dear Wiregrass, I know she should have known this competency. I'm not sure she got it. I need you to retrain her in this area, and we do it for free. 2-year warranty on every student who graduates. And we're glad to do it because, another thing that happens is things change. So a competency may change. So we give students their warranty when they graduate.
That's interesting, and it also, I guess, challenges you, again, the quality of the student coming out the first time.
That's right, yes, sir.
And that's a neat concept. Chairman Perkle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Dr. Anderson, I must tell you, I'm really not sure. I should actually know this. The religious affiliation of my friend to the left here, the floor leader Lott. I know it's not Pentecostal because she would have raised her hands early on. She was pretty excited about some of these opportunities regarding the articulation agreements and apprenticeships, and she said amen several times, but Pentecostals, we would have absolutely raised our hands. But one thing that, getting back to Representative Chokus, one of the things that he said that I do want to strike home. We have some fabulous USG institutions, but do you know what you call someone that has a perfect GPA, that is one semester shy of getting their bachelor's degree, and they do something else? That's a dropout. You do not have that degree. But one of the great things that we must always remember, you are teaching skills. When you teach someone to weld, whether they have a degree or not, they are a skilled worker. When you teach a worker to drive a truck, whether or not they get a certificate from your institution, as long as they get the CDL on their license, they can earn a living, and they are a skilled worker. So just because they are not degree completers, they are not failures, they are skilled workers.
Exactly.
And one of the things that I was most interested in was your apprenticeship. Here's my question. Again, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, it took me a long time to get there. What type of courses of apprenticeships? Is this through like plumbers and electricians and such?
It is whatever the employer needs. Most of them wind up being around industrial systems. So they need techs to go out. It could be CNC, could be welding, some's diesel. Automotive is what we started out to begin with automotive. And do you know, it's interesting, in the state of Georgia, if you've got somebody, you put in an automotive dealership, and believe me, I was in one yesterday, they're air conditioned now, where they fix the cars. In 2 years, if they're good, they're fast, and they're doing warranty work faster than normal, that student who got out of Wiregrass after 18 months, that's how long it takes them to get through the program, probably with zero debt, they're making, with overtime, between $70,000 and $80,000 a year. Those are the kind of figures you're seeing for people who get those skill sets, like you said. And Representative Perkle, we never forget, from a president's perspective, that when we're teaching somebody to drive that semi, it's a diesel-filled bomb on that road if we don't teach them how to do it correctly, right? We have to make sure, and when we're teaching a nursing student to put a PICC line in, we better make sure we're doing it right. So you're exactly right. Those skill sets are very, very important, that we make sure we cannot ever not do a good job when we're teaching those skill set. I tell my faculty members, I have a bachelor's degree in marketing. Nobody's ever going to be hurt if I'm not good at it. But if we're not good in automotive and in diesel when they're building things, and in truck driving and nursing, people will get hurt. So the pressure's on those instructors to do a good job. Thank you again for your support.
Chairman Jaspers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's for both the president and maybe the commissioner. My concern has always been on, for the last year or two, is on far-flung sites. Like we have a home base, for years, and then we've got satellite campuses about. Never is quite, I know it's a money thing, the dedication or pushing courses out to these where only maybe 5 or 8 people who need it. And you look at all the sites that we have across Georgia, we have many of them that really don't get those needs. I guess my question is, I would love for you to think about what we can do to help you be able to meet the needs of those Georgians in those way out areas,
Right.
not just in the hub ones, but all the other places that we've got.
Yep. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that conversation and question, and we've had that discussion on how do we rotate courses. I think in some cases we're not rotating courses, as you and I talked about, that we look for a demand that can be a consistent course versus one being here at a satellite and the demand may not be there until another semester and you skip one. And I think those are all things that are on the table right now as I consider that issue, because I do think we have to hit those areas. We can't forget about the areas, and I know that in some of our service areas, some of those communities feel that way. And that's something that that's on me to figure out how to fix.
Well,
and so I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, and please know that we're going to definitely figure that out.
Yeah, we'd love to be a partner doing that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, while I got Dr. Anderson in here, she mentioned the partnership with corrections, and there was a couple of presidents as I walked into this job that I knew, but I didn't know great. But I knew because they'd been such great partners, and you had 2 technical college presidents that had really dove in and helping with the reentry efforts and making sure that individuals come out are not going back in, or at least have that opportunity not to go back into prison and save us as taxpayers' monies. And the first that jumped on initially was Dr. Ivan Allen down in the Macon area, and he just did a phenomenal job. But the second that became equally as vital was Dr. Anderson, and then of course several others jumped into that reign. But she has been a close partner in that endeavor for a number of years now, and I've been so impressed with her, and I'm still impressed as I walk into this job. She's done a phenomenal job, and as I learn John and hear him, and what a great presentation. Just an honor to work with you, John, and appreciate your testimony today as well. One other thing I'll tout real quick, and then obviously answer any more questions you have so I don't forget. We were notified the other day that the registerednursing.org came out with their best colleges for the RN program. And to my surprise, if I'm honest, it shouldn't be now that I've been here a few months, because I realize such a level of scholarly education we provide. But I looked in, and the number 1 was Georgia College and State University. But as I scrolled down, number 3 was Chattahoochee Tech. And then I kept scrolling, and I got down to number 6, and it was Gwinnett Tech. And I kept scrolling, and I got to number 8, and it was Wiregrass. And so out of the top 10, we had 3 technical colleges ranked by those that are hiring RNs as having the best best education for RNs in the state. So I was very proud as commissioner. Want to thank Dr. Anderson here publicly for everything y'all are doing. But that was just a neat thing to see, and wanted to share with you guys as well.
Thank you. You and I have talked about, and again, I want to challenge you, because I think you've been in different departments. You've come in and revamped and looked at things, and I think change is an opportunity. New commissioner come in and look at things from a different perspective, and I think that's what you and I have talked about. But I want us to go back, and I want us to look at regionally, where are the needs? How do we partner with the Department of Economic Development? How do we not only at our local level, at that level, but look at this globally, okay? Whether it's Metro, whether it's North Georgia, whether it's South Georgia. Let's look at these needs. Let's evaluate these positions. Let's evaluate where industry is pulling us, okay?
Yes.
And let's come back and let's talk about this. One of the things, and I hate that Chairman Nix had to leave, but he's been on me, in regards to coming to, Troup County, his county. And again, there's a corridor in there of a lot of things going up, the key and all that in that area. But, the applied, I guess, precision manufacturing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, aviation, and I don't think you'll mind me sharing a conversation, but I talked to one somebody with the Gulfstream the other day. They were testifying at Congress about a retiring demographic that's coming out of, the workforce, or retiring out of the workforce, and the pure number of those folks that are needed to replace them was staggering.
Right.
And so when we look at this and we look at our different areas where those needs are, and whether it's on West Georgia, whether it's around our bases, where Air Force bases, or someplace like in Savannah with Gulfstream manufacturing, or certainly around Hartsville International with all of the commercial airlines in the world's busiest airport. What are we doing?
Yep.
Okay? Because I know you're inheriting some things, quite frankly, we've talked about, and I think those need to be addressed. But where are the resources? One thing that I think I heard today was how you're partnering or looking at K through 12, or I think you had mentioned college and career academies.
Yes.
So we're grabbing these students who aren't necessarily going to be, looking for a 4-year degree. Their aptitude, they're probably smarter than the rest of us. And, how do you get them interested in these areas? How do you grab these guys either in the, K through 12 or elementary schools or high schools or junior high schools? Or do you grab them, in partnership with your college and career academies and have these be feeders? So I'm not sure that we're, probably in some areas of the state, we're probably doing a great job of that. And probably in other states, we're not. And what I want us to do is make sure that we're streamlined. Now, the second concern I have, certainly we're in lean times. Okay? But again, I want to make sure we're clear here. You got to have good faculty, especially in some of these high demand areas or areas where there's expertise. If you don't have good faculty to challenge the students to make sure that you've got the quality programs, okay, and you're turning out quality students, are you really doing a good job of it? And I want to stress quality. I know there's probably some of our technical colleges are doing a good job. When you've got a warranty and you say, I back up what I'm putting out, you're putting your money where your mouth is. But I want to make sure that we're doing that.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is when we get into these service delivery areas and we're starting to look at from a regional perspective, sometimes our service delivery areas, okay, there's a line there, no matter what the methodology of how we came up with those areas. How do we partnership in areas where that region, those regional needs don't necessarily line up with the service delivery areas? I don't, again, I'm not trying to get into cause problems, but I know those are some issues where maybe the headquartered, or the main campus of our technical colleges is 2 counties up, but 2 counties down. It's a border county with the other one, and the priorities are different.
Yep.
And those headquartered, there are where our main campuses are focused somewhere else. So how do we partnership with that? And I think again, I'm gonna request, because Chairman Nix has really requested, I'd like for the commissioner and y'all to meet with me the next couple of days. I want to meet with Chairman Nix. He's requested that.
Absolutely.
Opportunities. And I think as we start to look at some of these things, it'll help you as you come into this role, again, come in and sort of evaluate where you are and see if, as you get your touch, if you will, and put your touches on our technical college system, it'll help you maybe look at it maybe slightly different than it's been looked at in the past. And that's a good thing, because I appreciate what y'all are doing. I think you brought up 2 probably of our best ones, okay, from what I'm seeing and what I heard. Because, again, the partnership. I mean, you're doing things with the industry that I tried to get a diesel mechanic program or helped in the past, and you just couldn't. I don't know why. It was so hard. But apparently you've done it, and you've done it successfully. That's what I think we want to start looking at. And then I will help you, and I think this committee will help you and challenge you. If industry is that hungry, okay, for these qualified, students to come out that are qualified to meet those workforce needs that they have, let's challenge them. Let's go back and say, guys, we can do this for you, but we all need to help. So I hope that helps the committee and some of the things that we're thinking of. And I think you've got a great opportunity, Commissioner, to come in here and shake it up a little bit, if
Absolutely.
you will. And let's make it a little better than, let's improve it.
Yep.
So.
Well, I appreciate the challenge, and I've enjoyed each of you. I think everybody in this room has reached out to me at some point in the last few weeks, and you're right. There's ample opportunity. We're doing an excellent job across the state as a whole, but there's ample opportunity to do better and meet those demands. And I'm seeing the pathway. So thank you.
I personally look forward to it, and I know that this committee looks forward to helping and supporting us as we move our technical colleges, our systems and these colleges, move them into the future, make sure that we're doing it bigger and better.
Yes,
That's
sir.
the goal.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Committee, I appreciate you being here, and again, I love having a look at our different institutions from around the state, and I think it gives us all a better perspective of what's going on, around the state. And I appreciate, again, the president's coming up, taking your time to come up from certainly a longer distance than many travel, and thank you for what you're doing at your colleges. Commissioner, thank you. Members, we'll talk to you soon, and with that, we're dismissed.